the reason I'm being quiet is because there's a few other boats around me right now, but they're all up too shallow, and I don't want to try to draw too much attention. But I'm sitting out in 17, 18 feet, and I was actually coming off this break, and I marked these fish in like 8 to 12 feet, and they're just suspended because they're staging off this. There's a big reed bed up here, and they're just staging. There's really not weeds. It's just kind of a break, and just getting them on a 1/32 ounce panfish pro collarless jig and a 1-inch gulp minnow again. I'm just kind of casting up shallower, and I'm working it back through the break here. Seems to just kind of catching them as they're working this break line here. I go and turn the camera off, and this happens. Big old slab. Let that big girl go. Let's see what we got for a measurement. We got 13 1/4. Alright, let's see if we can duplicate it. I was using a chartreuse and not getting anything, so then I switched, so maybe that's the ticket. These fish are hanging out deep. There we go. Didn't take long. Well, we found them. Not as big, but that's what it was. It must have been the color change because I cast in that exact same spot before I turned the GoPro on, and couldn't get a bite with the chartreuse. Like, yeah, I'll try switching another color before I move. Boom, just like that. 2 in a row. 3 in a row. Ooh, feels like a good one here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Look at that one. She's a beaut. Kind of doing the same thing again. Just out in that. Oh, what am I doing? Well, I'm hanging out in about 14, 15, casting up into about 10. I went over that school of fish earlier, and then I just backed off, and sure enough, not a cinch up here, slipping on. Yeah, that's one key thing that I've always had with crappies is, if you're not getting anything, don't be afraid to change color, because there are days where they just do not want anything to do with one color, but they'll bite on the next. But they're definitely one of the most color selective fish out there. Oh, this is a crappie. This is a big one. It could be a bass though. We shall see shortly. I think bass. No. Oh. Look at this thing. Look at that big mama. Wow. I'll have to get a measurement on her. A measurement, and then I'm gonna get a weight on her too. She's only 13 and a half, but gotta see quick. Wet that up. What a beaut. Get her weighed up quick. quick as possible here. 1 pound, 10 ounces. There we go. They are stacked up in there right now. Here's a little closer up of what I'm using again. It's that collarless jig, and this is how you want to rig them up too. You want to slide that knot to the front and let it ride horizontal as much as possible and thread it through like that so it looks like a live minnow. Because, and that's another thing I've noticed, a lot of people that say, I just can't catch them on those plastics artificials, and when I've seen what they're using, it's a lot of the time they don't thread it on all the way like that. They kind of hook it. It just doesn't look natural, and I think that's a lot of the reason why when people say they can't catch them on these artificials, they're just not rigging them up right. So you want it to lie as horizontal, pull that knot to the front, and then just be sure to slide that knot all the way up and thread it on your hooks like that. And that's why those Panfish Pro collarless jigs work so great, is because with these microplastics, it's a piece of cake. They thread on really nice and you're good to go. Oh, that one really popped that thing. These ones are all pre-spawn females. They're all full of eggs. See? They're all fat like that. Just staging off a little reed bed here. They are stacked. Oh, we got another nice one here, I think. That's the crappie. This is a nice one. Oh, 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 oh. Jeez. Look at this one. My gosh. Oh, look at that crappie. Look at that thing. That is a toad. There we go. Alright, got a quick weight. £1 pound, 11 ounces. What a beaut. It's always good to throw those big fish like that back. You know, I'm not keeping any fish today, but if I were, you know, those 9 to 11 inch fish, that's what I always try to keep, because, you know, those bigger fish, it's just, well, one, it keeps the opportunity around for the future, you know, those big fish like that. And then number two is that, you know, they're good. Those are the best breeding fish. I mean, they have the best, you know, stock, more eggs, especially with crappies, and you know, it's just, I mean, they're not as, like when it comes to keeping, you know, big fish versus little fish, with bluegills it's definitely more crucial to keep those smaller fish, just because those bigger fish are what keep those good genetics in the lake, and the larger male bluegills are just better at protecting the nest. You know, they have better genetics, and even, I mean, crappies too, they're a little different than the bluegills, but it's still important to throw those big fish back, because it just keeps more and more fish around for future generations, and for yourself. Hopefully that 13, the last couple big ones, maybe I'll come back next year and they'll be 2-pounders. Ooh, feels like another good one. Fake out, not as big. Nice one though. Good eating size if I was eating them. Right away. Ooh, feels like another good one. Oh yeah. It's got some weight to her. Man. Another big old fat pre-spawn female. Look at that. Wow. Another beaut. The mouths on these are just huge. One of those, you know, pound and a half plus. I got a knot in my line. I should probably retie that. I'm going to do that really quick. Last thing I would want is that to break. Probably shouldn't be biting that line, it's bad for my teeth, but oh well. Been doing it my whole life, why stop now, right? Kind of what I do with these bobber rigs is I like having a leader, and the reason I do that is because with a barrel swivel, it helps reduce some of that line twist, and I don't get near as bad at tangles if you're casting in the wind or anything like that. And I do it for walleyes, crappies, everything. And I started doing that, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago, and it's been a lot more effective than just simply throwing a couple split shots on your line and going. And I'll kind of show you what I'm doing here after I get her cinched up. Okay, so what I do on my main line I have 6-pound mono. I just like mono for crappies all around. But then what I do is, so here's the swivel. So above that barrel swivel, I put a couple split shots just till I get the right weight for the bobber. Then I usually have about a 1.5 to 2 foot leader, depending on how deep I'm fishing. If it's really shallow, I'll obviously shorten it up. And then I just have that, you know, collarless jig threaded on there like that, and it really helps reduce that line twist instead of just having a couple split shots on there. I really prefer it. And I do that for walleyes too, if I'm bobber fishing walleyes or anything like that. Another little thing too, if you're ever wondering if you're knot slip, just a little trick that I do all the time is you can size up depending on how long your rod is. Just reel that slip knot to the tip, and then just go down and compare it to the length of your rod. It's a good way how a little trick, or like an eyelet if there's a specific depth you're catching those crappies at, or whatever you're doing bobber fishing. But that's just a good way to keep that knot intact. Probably throw a 2-inch power minnow on too. That's how big these crappies are, and they seem pretty aggressive too. What a gorgeous day. Another female. This is a nicer crappie, I think. Nope, he was just spinning on me. Good eating size one though. Still fun. Another little trick too to get more life out of these minnows. If the head gets bit up a little bit, just kind of bite off a 1/4 inch or so, and you can thread it right back on again. And then you get quite a few more fish that way too again, without having to retie again. I wonder how many times I can say again. Pretty tight little break in here, and it seems like if you get too far off that break, they're just kind of hanging on. There's a few little scattered weeds up there, and they're just kind of cruising along those, and as soon as you get past out too deep, it's like they're not hanging there. They're tight, they're pressed up too. There we go. We got a crappie here. Oh yeah. That looks like a male starting to kind of turn color a little bit. sunny here, I think. Looks like a pretty good one though, if it's a... Yeah, it's a nice one. Look at that gill. Probably a 8.5, 8 3/4. Big old hen. Got some shoulders. Oh, got a crappie. Oh yeah, another nice one. Come here, girl. Not as big as some of those other couple, but another really nice one. Oh. This is a crappie. This is a big crappie. I don't think we got a crappie. If we do, like I said, this thing is huge. I'm thinking bass bite. Could be a walleye. I don't know. Let's see what it was. Oh. Well, I didn't see it, so if it was a crappie, it's okay. I was fighting, had some pretty good head shakes and was staying down. I'm guessing it was a, I don't think it was a pike, it was either a bass or a walleye, I think. Crappie. Good eater. Found a few. Little guy. a good one.